Hey, Falcons and NFL fans. Welcome to another episode of NFL Jocks and Pigskins with Tom Pollen, Chris Smitherman behind the scenes. I'm Dave Holcomb. Got another fun show for you today. Not so fun, the last few weeks for Falcons fans, but I think this will be fun from the perspective of it's a open forum. I think the next hour we want to hear from all of the angry Falcons fans. Hopefully some of that anger has dissipated throughout the week, and maybe it's a good time for the bye because we get to take a step back, take a aerial view of the team. But Tom, we can be positive and say everything's still in front for this team, but time's ticking. Maybe time's ticking for Arthur Smith, and a really big matchup coming up against New Orleans next week. So really, I think another theme of today's show is what can the Falcons do to get back on track for a really, really important game in Week 12?
Yeah, well, one thing they have to do is they got to get their quarterback situation straightened out, and I think that's going to be Desmond Ridder. And it has to be Desmond Ridder. Taylor Heineke has a ceiling, and we've seen it. This is a ceiling. We don't have a ceiling for Desmond Ridder yet. And I think Arthur Smith panicked. It's time to kind of relax, do some self-scouting, realize what you've done mistakenly in the first half of the season, and try and turn some of that around. But don't panic. I think Taylor Heineke was a panic move. And it's time to understand that and kind of get this team back on an even keel.
So we'll break down the Falcons for a majority of today's show, as we do every week. Great to be back after our week off last week. Tom and I took a week off. How was the wedding last week?
Oh, it was great. A lot of fun. It was outstanding. Yeah. Stepdaughter got married, and it was a great day. So,
did you get to walk her down the aisle?
No.
Okay.
I'm just her stepdad or dad walked her down the aisle.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Glad you had a great time. I had a great time watching some youth baseball. My nephew was in a tournament at the Ripken facility in Aberdeen, Maryland. Pretty big time. It was really nice facility there, and his team. I think they did okay. They were 1-2, but he got. Of course, the game that I missed was the game that he won game MVP. But it was great just to see him play, regardless of the outcome of his team or what he was doing. It was great to see him in action.
Yeah, I agree. It's always fun. So I'm glad you were able to do that. That's so those family moments are nice, and it's great to be able to get them, and that's something you're always going to have.
Flew Frontier to save some money. Flew up to Philadelphia, stayed with my parents. Frontier is an interesting, experience. Have you flown Frontier?
No, I've never flown Frontier.
So they have the bag restrictions. They're trying to get you to pay for carry-on bags,
right?
Bags. So, but you're allowed a personal item, but that personal item has to be a certain size. And they were policing it. Like,
really?
Yeah. When I got on the plane in Atlanta, he said, "Put your bag in this bin." No chance of fitting in the bin. My backpack had to fit all my clothes, my laptop, all everything. So I'm taking clothes out and putting them on. Started wearing clothes so I could get on the plane without paying I don't know, was it going to be $30, $40 bag fee? But I got on the plane. Just had to wear some extra clothes to my seat.
That's great. I love that.
Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app. When you do, use our promo code ASU. That gets you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. Some free money for you. And after we discuss the Falcons, we're going to have Tom's picks against the spread. And we'll have some Prize Picks for you as well. One other note, I know maybe the camera angle for me looks a little bit different today. I don't have power in the house, as I explained to Tom and Chris before we went on the show. So luckily I was able to get onto the tablet and get this working. I have a tablet that has data. So was able to get on with the internet on the tablet, and a little bit different camera angle. And I don't have the available stats. I'm going to rely on Tom for that today. But I do have prize picks coming up a little bit, and I have that written down. So we should be good to go for the next 55 minutes or so.
Oh, old time media. You wrote them on paper.
Well, I have it on the phone.
Oh, I see.
I have it on the notepad.
So not actually a quill and ink.
No, not the quill and ink that we'll see, in the Charles Dickens Christmas Carol. But I'll watch probably 5 or 6 different versions of that next month.
And there will be 5 or 6 different versions for you to watch. Yes, Alistair Sim is still the best Scrooge for me. That's still the best Christmas Carol.
I'm sorry, which version is that?
With Alistair Sim?
Yeah,
it's the best. That's the version it is. It's the best.
Okay. What year did that one come out?
Oh God, now you're gonna make me do some looking up here.
Was that the 30s version?
I'm not sure if it was 30s or 40s.
Okay. Well, I saw a very old version. It was 30s or 40s. I think it might have been 1939.
1951.
Oh, okay. Maybe that wasn't the version I saw.
Well, it's a black and white version.
I did see a black and white version. I really like the Christmas Carol. It's one of our traditions. We go to a play of it.
Okay.
In the last few years, there's a really nice, performance of it here in Atlanta, and I'm planning to take my family this year when they come visit right before Christmas.
Right.
That'll be, I like the Muppet version myself, Tom.
The Muppet version, okay.
Yeah.
The Muppets always do everything classy, so that's not surprising.
I think we might have gotten power back. I heard some rumblings from the printer.
Oh my goodness.
That was its way of saying I'm turning back on.
Yeah, I'm back on. Okay.
But let's go ahead and keep rolling with the setup we got. Yep. And you mentioned the quarterback situation. Just a bit of a mess at this point for the Falcons. And I don't think that's using hyperbole or exaggerating it in any way. 70 passing yards. That's one stat I do remember off the top of my head, Tom. 70 passing yards for Taylor Heineke against the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, the Cardinals are a 1-8 team, not bottom of the barrel in terms of stopping the pass, but not a good pass defense. And you have Taylor Heineke under siege for a lot of the game. We could talk about that, the offensive line issues, but just no attempt to get the ball downfield and when there was dropbacks, again, that pressure and Heineke and the offense manages just 70 passing yards against a 1-8 team.
Look, I get why Falcons fans were just angry and going crazy after that game, because that was pathetic. That was one of the most pathetic outings that you could expect. This is something you might have expected out of a Falcons team a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
When they were still struggling with the cap, still struggling with personnel. This was not what we were supposed to see out of this team this season.
Yeah.
And just absolutely pathetic. And not out of a quarterback who's had the experience that Taylor Heineke has. All right. I could see it out of Desmond Ridder, maybe. He gets flustered for a game and has problems, but he's supposed to be your veteran who's seen everything and knows what's coming and knows how to counter stuff. And he had nothing to answer Arizona. And they still almost won.
I mean, that's true. Yeah. I mean, the running game did get going. I felt like finally Arthur Smith was using Bijan Robinson as we want to see him used. Do you have the number of touches he got in the game? I think it was 20 plus.
22 for 95 yards. Yeah. And One
guess
catch
he
for 11 yards.
on what's that?
One catch for 11 yards. 22 carries and one catch. Uh-oh. We got a problem? Is that your problem or my problem?
I think it's my problem. I think my tablet is reconnecting to the internet, and that's why
I see
this lag. I believe I'm connected to the internet now, and you can still hear me.
Yeah.
So I would like to still see Robinson involved more in the passing game, but you love the 22 touches.
Yes.
Or a rushing touchdown. So you got enough from him finally. But those other weapons that we've talked about, when you only have 70 passing yards, they're not going to be very involved in the game.
Nope.
Drake London did make a really nice circus catch on, I believe that came on the go-ahead touchdown in the fourth quarter. But Kyle Pitts, again, was just basically a no-show. And it's like every week we talk about Kyle Pitts has to be more involved. Kyle Pitts has to be more involved. And time's ticking on Arthur Smith getting him involved because the fans are really getting frustrated, and rightfully so, because a number 4 pick overall shouldn't be this difficult to get him the ball.
That's the idea. That's why you're taking him number 4, is to be a main weapon on offense. And I know he was hurt last year, but he's healthy. He's back at it.
Yeah.
You should be able to, you need to be able to see something out of these guys. Pitts and Drake London. These guys were drafted to be playmakers. Have them be playmakers. They're not getting opportunities to do what you drafted them to do. So it makes no sense the way Arthur Smith uses them.
What would you like to see out of, other than going back to Ritter? I mean, is it just funneling the ball to them more? I mean, is it a certain route that maybe they should be running more with either Pitts or London? What can they do to get them the ball?
Well, one thing I like about Ritter, and I'll keep saying this, I know a lot of people don't like him, but when Ritter is throwing the ball, when he's throwing the ball hard, he has plenty of arm. And he can get the ball in between defenders. He can get the ball to London and to Pitts before a defensive back can make a play on the ball. And I think that's what they lose when they put Heineke in, is that and he's accurate at doing it. I think Ritter is also very good at throwing that contested ball to Drake London, getting it up where only Drake London is going to be able to get his hands on it. And London has great hands. You could throw the ball over his head and count on London to bring it down. That's something else I would like to see. Throw these guys open. Throw something maybe low where only your receiver is going to be able to get to it. Defensive back can't make a cut on the ball. Yeah, you're going to, that's all the yardage you're going to get. You're not going to get a yard after the catch, but you got a completed catch. Scheme guys open. You're just not seeing enough of this. You see sometimes where you got receivers in the same area and you don't know who the ball's supposed to be going to. And that's Arthur Smith's fault.
Yeah.
You've got to, but you can't do that kind of stuff with Ritter. He doesn't have the arm. And as I said, we've already seen the ceiling. I mean, you can't do that stuff with Heineke. We've seen the ceiling on Taylor Heineke. We know what he is. We don't know what Desmond Ritter is yet because he hasn't even played a full NFL season yet. That's what we're getting to. Now, Ritter does not have the touch on the ball that Taylor Heineke has. And that's something that Ritter needs to work on in the offseason, is working on the touch. Throwing the ball out, just past the defensive back into your, oops, we lost Dave. Here we go. We got Dave.
I made the switch. I'm now on my computer.
Okay. Great.
Sorry to didn't want to mess up your train of thought.
No, that's okay. You take my train. My train goes off the tracks anytime anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No, I think you're making great points though about Desmond Ridder, and we're so quick to judge quarterbacks at this point. The guy's had how many starts? 8 starts, 9 starts in the NFL. And we've already determined that he's not the guy. And I hate to bring this back up, but I think it's still worth it's playing a role in this season. And I was worried about this going into the year. The pressure perhaps that Arthur Smith is feeling that he's got to go to the playoffs this year because it's year 3 of 3, according to Arthur Blank. And I think you said at the beginning of the show, got a little bit nervous when Ridder wasn't winning games that he felt like he should. So he turned to the veteran.
Well, according to this, over this past week, Arthur Blank has said that Smith is good for 2024. So we'll see how that plays out.
I'm not
counting on that, but
right. Yeah. Like the way it's trending, I don't want to say that Smith's going to get fired. I don't want to make some bold prediction like that, but I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Falcons to make a change if there is another 7-10 finish or worse. Because again, you said at the beginning of the show that when I think you kind of said it when you were talking about this was a performance, 70 passing yards, what you would expect from a Falcons team a couple years ago. I mean, this Falcons team is a lot better. The roster is a lot better. Should not be going, fewer wins.
No, right.
And they got last year. And maybe they played or won more games than they really should have last year. I think you could argue that. But you still don't want to win 6 games or fewer. I think that spells disaster, especially with the schedule. The schedule has got some cupcakes on it. Games
it does.
Really should win. But yeah, so
you got the Saints twice, okay? And that's where you can make a move in the division. But then you got the Jets, who cannot play offense. You got the Buccaneers, who you should have blown out in Tampa the last time you played them, except for the turnovers.
And still won, yeah.
And still won. Carolina, Indianapolis, and the Chicago Bears. All right, these are winnable games.
Yeah.
These are games where you should be able to make up ground on the division and make some improvements on this team and show that this team is actually going somewhere. All right, this is your stretch. You got no excuses. If they can't get through this stretch of games without at least 4 wins, then I think it is time for Arthur Smith to go. You've got to get through this game with 4 or 5 wins. That's counting a split with the Saints. And the Saints are in first place. They're not looking great. Their defense is not looking outstanding. They're not getting great quarterback play. Between Carr and Winston, they're not doing outstanding things, unbeatable things that should scare you coming out of this bye. So, 4 or 5 wins, I don't think is asking too much heading into the second half of the season.
Pantera, we absolutely agree. We've been saying it pretty much all season that we know Heineke is in the QB for 2024. So 2023 has to be the season where you determine if Ridder is the quarterback or not. Absolutely. That is the goal, should be the goal of this season.
Right.
And I actually think it's a disservice for Arthur Smith and the Falcons that they're in this really easy division because you put yourself in a situation where you think you should win the division. And I honestly, I think they should. I think they are the best team.
Yes, I think they are. Right.
And I don't want to suggest that they're not. But if they were in a division with the Eagles or the 49ers or even the Lions, the expectations are wild card. We're gonna go for a wild card spot, and we're gonna play Ritter, and it's okay if we don't win the division.
Right.
But in the NFC South, it's like they have these dueling goals, objectives, because it's such a winnable division that they need to win the division, but they also need to play Ritter. And it's hard to I will say that about. I don't envy Smith having to try and do both of those things, but Ritter absolutely has to play.
Well, this is what I take from Arthur Blank's comments from this week, is he's trying to take some of the pressure off Arthur Smith, saying, yeah, Arthur Smith is going to be here in 2024. So maybe Smith now feels like he can do some more of this. It's still a developmental stage for this team because of the quarterback and your young playmakers. But he's got to have faith in some of these young playmakers too. And maybe this takes some of the pressure off of him to allow these guys to try and make plays, see what they can do, see if they are worthy of their draft status.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you had the faith in drafting them so high. A lot of people didn't want to take London that high in the top 10. Drafting a running back in the top 10 is kind of an old school line of thinking. People say don't do that anymore, but you had the faith to do that. So put your faith in those players on the field.
Now, the problem with what they've done is they haven't built on their offensive and defensive lines. You still don't really have the edge rushers that are consistent for you. You've lost Grady Jarrett.
Yeah.
And you really have nobody who can step into that spot. So you haven't done any favors to your offensive or defensive lines. And to me, first and second round, this is where you build up your big uglies. This is where you get these guys who are going to just blow people off the ball and can do the job of protecting your quarterback. Now, that is a problem with this team, I think. But still, you got playmakers you're not using.
You know how I feel about the way they've drafted and not targeted edge rushers. I mean, I felt like there were multiple years where they should have taken an edge rusher. I can't off the top of my head say which edge rusher should have been, although I guess Minka Parsons is a guy that probably comes to mind.
Yeah.
Nobody, I don't think, I could be wrong about this, I don't think people thought he was going to be as good as he is. Defensive Player of the Year, although he was picked in the first round, so maybe that's wrong. I don't know. But the thing that sticks out to me the last two games, though, Tom, not necessarily the edge rushing, but the inability to come up with a big play on defense. And I guess that is partially edge rushing. You want to get a sack when you got the lead in the fourth quarter. But, they couldn't corral Josh Dobbs after he was there for a couple of days against the Vikings. I mean, he was playing playground ball, and they could not bring him down when he scrambled, moving around. And it was the same thing with Kyler Murray, who's a much more athletic guy that you expect to move around, but you thought that maybe, okay, Dobbs kind of burned you that way. We're gonna have a spy, or we're gonna practice, prepare all week to stop Kyler Murray at scramble drills, and that was what beat him really in the fourth quarter. Got the Cardinals into a situation where they were close enough to take that big shot to the tight end that got them inside the 5.
Right. And that's the thing. You got to force mistakes out of the opposing offense. Penalties, you got to force them in, false starts. You got a guy who they're afraid of on the line, and maybe an offensive lineman gets a little twitchy. Sacks. Can you get to that quarterback? Again, I don't believe in knockdowns. You can knock down the quarterback all you want. All a knockdown means is he got rid of the ball. So either he threw it out of bounds, and you're going to give him 2nd and 10, or maybe he got rid of the ball just in time to a receiver and he's gained yardage on the play and you haven't put him behind the chains. Or interception, where you're getting the ball in more positive field position because you're getting it via interception instead of taking it deep as a punt. These are the things that count. How many yards are you making your offense go to score?
Yeah, that was a factor.
They don't have to travel as far, and that's the problem. Because the farther you have to go on offense to score, the more chance you have of making a mistake and getting caught behind the chains.
Right, and you're talking about the Falcons offense.
Yes.
Well, the Falcons defense.
I'm talking about both actually complementing each other.
Yeah, right. I was going to bring up the play in the fourth quarter. I think it was late third quarter, I believe, where the Cardinals got the big punt return, and that set them up
right
in the red zone, almost in the red zone, where they only needed. I think they took over the 21. They needed 21 yards to score that go-ahead touchdown. And that's what you're talking about, the complementary football, the how many yards you have to go to get a touchdown.
Right. Are you constantly having to go 75, 80, 85 yards because you've been either you got the touchback or you've been put in a hole because of a punt, and now you've got the whole football field in front of you, or you've got to go 20 to 30 yards because you've made a big play, because you've done something positive. And you've given your offense position where even if they make a mistake, you can still score. Or, you still have the pressure on the defense to stop you, to do something about you. Even if you are behind the chains for a snap or two, you're still putting more pressure on the defense. And that's something the Falcons have not been able to do. They always get caught way too deep in their zone when they get the ball, and it takes a lot of work to make up those kind of yards.
I mentioned the Falcons' third down defense. They're 5th in third down percentage, Tom, at the 5th best. The Cardinals were just 3 for 11, but that one of those 3 conversions came on that game-winning drive where Murray was scrambling. And the week prior, the Vikings were 7 for 16 on third down and had 2 third downs on their game-winning touchdown converted. And they had a 4th down conversion on that drive as well. So you look at the stats, you say, oh, the Falcons got great third down defense. And they do. But it's not coming up that way when it really matters.
Exactly. No, exactly. And that's one of the things you run into is now that's why some of these statistics can lie a little bit. As far as defense, they score a point. They're 29th in the league in yards per point scored. To score 1 point, the Falcons average 17.7 yards of offense. All right.
That's the 29th most.
29th in the league.
Obviously, you want to see
the yards it takes you to generate 1 point.
Yeah.
They are 29th in the league. 17.7 yards per point, which means to get 7 points, you have to drive the equivalent of 124 yards. 123.9. All right. You're forcing your offense to drive farther than the length of a football field just to score the equivalent of a touchdown.
Yeah.
Because of where your defense gets you the ball, because of all the times your offense maybe generates 2 or 3 first downs and can't get any farther, makes a mistake. And that's what all this, or your special teams are not giving you the ball in positive field position. That's all of this plays into that yards per point. And that's a big reason why we're not seeing anything out of this Falcons team all of a sudden. They can't generate offense, consistent offense. So, but it becomes because of the defense. You're not getting fumbles. You're not getting interceptions in positive territory. You're not letting your offense have to drive 50 yards instead of having to drive 80 yards.
Right.
That's where all that comes in. And on defense, they give up 1 point for every 14.2 yards times 7. Opponents are only having to drive 99.4 yards on you to score the equivalent of a touchdown extra point. Little less than a full field. Not bad. All right, 23rd in the league. It's not going to win you many games, but you're still forcing an opposing offense. You're allowing them to score without having to go the full 100 yards average. These kind of things make a difference.
Yeah, we make so much of turnover margin, and it's very important, no doubt. But you're talking about turnovers setting up the offense to score,
right?
Or heck, defense taking a score back themselves. They're taking a fumble or interception or get a punt return, help out the offense in some fashion that way. The Falcons are tied for 23rd in just takeaways. Not even looking at turnover margin, which I believe they're negative. I'd have to double check that, but they're in. But just looking at how often the defense is taking away the ball, either setting up their offense to score points or taking away points by getting a red zone takeaway. They're in the bottom third of the league in that, in takeaways.
Yeah, and that's why we have so many problems actually generating anything with this team, because you're not making those big plays. You're not making those difference-making plays. Even if you get a 3 and out, opposing team is on their 20, 25, 30, you get a 3 and out, you're getting the ball back on your own 15 to 20. You're not doing yourself, you've got the 3 and out, but you're not doing your offense any favors. You're not helping them. The fewer yards your offense has to cover during a game, the better off you are as a team.
Falcons turnover margin, by the way, -6.
Yes.
Only teams that are worse are the Raiders and Bears. Patriots also have a -6 turnover margin. Those are some. Sorry, Tom. Those are some bad teams. Yeah. I know the Raiders are 5-5. I guess they're not they're an okay team, but
the Raiders are an okay team since they dropped the Josh McDaniels. So I think they're doing a lot better. And I forget his name. I'm sorry. I apologize. I forget his name, but has done a lot better as far as allowing his players to play and go out and do things that they want to do on the field.
You talking about Antonio Pierce?
Yes. First game, you watch Antonio Pierce coach that team. He's up and down the sidelines talking to his players, getting feedback, kind of getting them involved in the game via just listening to them and saying, having a two-way conversation with them. And I watched Antonio Pierce do that the first game he coached. I'm like, no wonder these guys are enjoying playing for him. He's actually listening to them. Hey, coach, we can make this work out on the field. Well, go ahead, make it work out on the field then. Players like that stuff when a coach listens to them.
And a team that plays that way, kind of like with nothing to lose, can be very dangerous too.
Oh, yeah.
I got that feeling from the Cardinals last week against the Falcons. They went for 4th and 1 at their own 30 in the first half. There was a level of we're 1-8. We've got Kyler Murray back. We're not playing for anything. We're just gonna go and see what happens.
Yeah.
And it really burned the Falcons. Hopefully that's not a game they come back to at the end of the season, and that's a reason why they're not playing later in January.
Well, these are the kind of games that do come back to bite you, though. These close losses that were actually wins that you found a way to turn them into losses. That is what comes back on you.
Yeah.
There's one thing I wanted to bring up. I did some research this week. And a lot of people have been talking about Desmond Ridder and his draft position. Well, he's a third-round quarterback. And, and I keep saying, who cares? I don't care where you're drafted. As long as you got the talent, you show the talent. I think Desmond Ridder has talent. I don't think he's a finished product by any means. I hear people complain about him, and I say, yeah, that is a problem. Getting the ball out on time. He makes better decisions running the ball than Heineke. He's faster than Heineke. But, he doesn't have the touch that Heineke does. But he has a stronger arm. He can get the ball farther. There are quarterbacks who were picked 74, because Heineke was Ridder was picked 74th.
Yeah.
Here's some of the guys who were picked either around him or after him.
In any draft?
In any draft. Ken Anderson was picked number 67. Should be in the Hall of Fame. Chris Chandler took the Falcons to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Drafted third round, 76 overall pick. Joe Montana, third round, 82nd overall pick.
Wow. Okay.
Nick Foles, hasn't been great. Won a Super Bowl, though.
Super Bowl MVP. He's got a statue.
Yeah, he's got that. That's right. So he was picked in the third round, 88th pick. Brian Greasy, he quarterbacked some playoff teams. He was in, not the greatest quarterback, but was a Pro Bowl quarterback, 91st pick. And these are all Pro Bowl quarterbacks that I'm naming that played at least once in the Pro Bowl.
Right.
Joe Theismann won a World's Championship, 99th pick, fourth round. Guy who was picked, back in his day, it was the 9th round. It was the 102nd pick. A guy named Johnny Unitas.
Wait. I have a question.
Yeah.
How many teams were there? The 109th pick was the 9th round?
Yes.
Was there like 10 teams?
10 or 11, yes. That was.
So what, Unitas, what year was he drafted?
1955.
55.
Yeah. Kirk Cousins, 102nd pick. Let's see. Roger Staubach, 129th pick.
Wow.
However, part of that, he did have first-round talent. Part of that were teams passed on him because he had to do his Navy commitment. So there is an excuse there because he did come out of Navy. Let's see.
You getting to the Tom Brady pick yet?
No, I haven't gotten to Tom Brady, 6th round, 199th pick.
Yeah.
Wade Wilson had a good career, 210th pick. Derek Anderson, a guy you should know, 213th pick. Doug Flutie, 285th pick. Well, I'm not going to count
Doug Flutie.
All right, here's a guy who was picked in the 17th round, 200th overall pick. Bart Starr.
Bart Starr. Wow.
So
I did not know he was such a late draft pick. Wow.
Yeah. He was not thought highly of coming out of Alabama. Back when Alabama, they were still the football, professional, turning out professional players like mad. But no, he was not highly thought of. Actually, when Vince Lombardi started Bart Starr in 1960, he was not, or 59, I think is when he first started. Bart Starr was not Vince Lombardi's first choice to be his quarterback. However, we all saw what happened.
I want to make a point about all of this, and I don't know if this is ultimately what you're trying to say or if it's just one of the takeaway points I have, because we talk about I think we talk about this with Tom Brady like every draft, because when the draft comes, and I think it's Rich Eisen that said we're on the Tom Brady pick, 199th overall, and it is an amazing story, no doubt. And Tom Brady worked hard.
Yes, he did.
He worked really hard to become a starter, let alone to win all the games he won.
Be the guy he became. Yes,
right. But I don't think the takeaway should be, the whole league missed on Tom Brady. The point is, not only did he work really hard to get better, and I guess maybe teams underestimated how hard he was willing to work, but the Patriots coaching staff made him into what he became. And then, capitalized on his skills early on. They had a great defense, all that, blah, blah, blah. And they developed him into being a star. And then he went with it with all the hard work and everything all the opportunity that he was given. But it was, Belichick and the coaching staff. So you can complain that Ritter's only a third round talent, but the fact of the matter is the Falcons believed enough in him to take him. Yes. And now it's up to Arthur Smith to put him in situations where he's going to have success and succeed. And he's got all the weapons around him. It's about, I don't want to take responsibility away from Ritter. Yes, a lot of it is on him too, but it's on the Falcons organization to put him in the best situation to succeed.
Exactly. This is why you drafted him. And yeah, you're right, Dave. It is up to Arthur Smith to develop him, and developing him does not mean you put Taylor Heineke in as your starter for 2 games because you're worried about that you might be going into a losing streak. Yeah. You might lose control of the division.
Yeah.
That's not developing Desmond Ritter.
Yeah.
You know what you have in Taylor Heineke. He's not going to be your playoff quarterback. He's not going to be your Super Bowl quarterback. You got to develop Desmond Ritter to be the best quarterback he can be. And I don't see them doing that. Now, Ritter did hurt himself with all the turnovers he had in a couple games. And that's one of the reasons why they didn't blow out Tampa Bay when they should have blown out Tampa Bay. Too many turnovers. Ritter's fault, yes. But you got to teach him. That's, yes. Help Rel. He had way too many turnovers. I agree with you. But that's something that you had to help him with as far as coaching. How to handle the ball, in the backfield. How not to be careless with the ball when you're trying to stretch it across the pylon and you lose control of it. These are the things you got to teach. Yes, Ritter had too many turnovers. I agree. But you still got to play him because he's the guy who's moving the ball for you. Okay. In between the 20s, he's still moving the ball, the better quarterback. And you got to see what he can do. You got to teach him how to be a red zone guy. But there are plenty of first-round quarterbacks who've done nothing in the NFL. I'm not going to go through the entire list.
We'll be
First overall quarterbacks who've done nothing in the NFL.
Yeah.
Position doesn't matter. It's what the coaching staff can make out of you.
Right, exactly. That was the point I was going to make. It goes back to where you developed. Yeah, you had the talent and the skill, and you have to take accountability for yourself. Did you work hard?
Right.
But also, were you in a situation where you could have success? Were you on a bad team? Did you have a coach that believed in you and didn't play these mind games where you're a starter, not a starter, starter, not a starter? And so that is such a much bigger factor than and not talked about enough, I think, when we're talking about evaluating quarterbacks and drafting.
Right. You have identified characteristics in this quarterback that you think are going to make him good for your team. But nobody's a finished quarterback when they come into the league. Even a Hall of Fame quarterback struggle when they come into the league. Nobody's a finished product. They get better. They get coached up better. They learn, and they become that guy, but they don't come into the league being that guy. So why are we expecting Ritter to come into the league being that guy Yeah, again, third round, but it's a matter of how much work you're going to put into developing him.
This is probably not a fair comparison, but I'm going to mention this, and then we got to get to your picks. You know who else has way too many turnovers at quarterback?
I think you're baiting me. You're talking about Patrick Mahomes?
No.
Oh.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, and I brought it up after week one, and
he leads the league in interceptions.
Yeah, and you told me he still was an elite quarterback, and look, he's got elite skills, and I'm not bringing this up to call you out and say that you're wrong, Tom, but it's just I'm tired of seeing the carelessness with the ball from some quarterbacks like Josh Allen, and people seem to overlook it. And then other quarterbacks, it's the biggest issue of all time. I think ESPN had an interesting conversation about Dak Prescott versus Josh Allen.
Did they?
Prescott led the league in interceptions last year, and how everybody was on him, how he wasn't going to be the future of the Cowboys, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Cowboys made all those offensive play calling changes, and the conversation is just not the same around Josh Allen. And why is that? And Stephen A. Smith eloquently just said, because no one cares about the Buffalo Bills. I guess that's why. I don't know. They don't have the same big fan base as the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know, but Josh Allen,
an enthusiastic fan base.
There's
enthusiastic. Buffalo Bills has as good a fan base as any in the national.
Yeah, I'm not putting down their fan base. I was quoting Stephen A. Smith.
Right.
I think they have a great fan base, and I mean, there's lots of Midwest teams like the Packers. Bears are not a small market, but even Detroit's not a small market. But that's where I'm from, and those Pittsburgh, Cleveland, those are the rabid fans to me in the NFL. So, but yeah, Allen is not held to the standard of other quarterbacks in terms of how he gives away the ball.
You do have to consider that Josh Allen has been in the playoffs and has played some outstanding playoff games.
Yes.
His game against the Chiefs against the Bills, that's still one of the most classic playoff performances I've seen out of two quarterbacks, period. And you want to talk about how many quarterbacks I've seen. That was a classic game between two quarterbacks who raised their level of play beyond this dimension. They were just completely, it was incredible to watch.
It was, but that game was 2 years ago now. The Bills haven't been back to the championship game in 3 years.
They lost to the Bengals last year. Yes.
Part of the reason why is they don't care about establishing a running game at all. James Cook I know he fumbled and then fumbled again and picked it up like a basketball, dribbling it down the field. But he ran off for over 100 yards and 9 carries.
Yeah.
And why? So why does he only have 9 carries?
Right. And see, I've been saying this for 3 or 4 years now, Dave. Is you got to establish some kind of running game. You don't have to run it like you did in the old days, but you still got to run it.
Right. And but 2 or 3 years ago, at least with the Bills, they didn't really have much talent at running back. It was kind of excused why Allen was their leading rusher. At this point, they've got talent. They've just signed Leonard Fournette. They have running backs.
Yes.
Why are you not using them?
They don't use them.
And they just fired their coordinator. Maybe that was part of the issue. I don't know, because
I think he was a fall guy.
I think so too. But anyway, Josh Allen came to mind when Hell Rel brought up too many turnovers for Desmond Ridder. But we do have to move on to Tom's picks, because we're running short on time. Do you got some picks against the spread for us?
I got a few picks against the spread. I always have picks against the spread, Dave. My problem is some of these games, you look at the accumulated stats for the season and the accumulated trends for the season, but in a few of these games, there are other influences where you can't quite look at them the same. Like the Texans are favored by 4.5 over the Cardinals. And to me, CJ Stroud, you take rookie out from in front of his title now. He's quarterback CJ Stroud. He is not rookie quarterback CJ Stroud. Okay? He is quarterback. Big time. NFL quarterback CJ Stroud. However, the Cardinals got Kyler Murray back. So their ability, yards per point scored, points per play, net passing yards per attempt, a lot of that kind of slides backwards now because you don't know what you're going to get from Kyler Murray. I would love to take the Texans minus 4.5 at home, but it's an iffy one to take. I do like the Jaguars minus 7, giving 7 points to the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis has he's gotten worse every game since he had that big game against the Falcons.
Yeah, he was pretty good against the Steelers.
You get game film against him, and you start figuring out where his weaknesses are. The Falcons didn't have a chance to have game film against him. So I'll give Ryan Nielsen a little bit of leeway that way. But he slid the last couple of weeks. Jacksonville Jaguars got pummeled by the 49ers last week.
Yeah.
A 49ers team that got Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel back. And, boy, made all the difference in Brock Purdy's game. By the way, Brock Purdy is another guy just taking advantage of the fact that he's got great coaching.
Right. Yes. And that should be the takeaway. Not that, oh, my God, why didn't my team – I hear that from Steeler fans. Like, why didn't they take Brock Purdy instead of Kenny Pickett? It's like – you realize Brock Purdy would look like Kenny Pickett with Matt Canada as his offensive coordinator.
Exactly. That's the point. So that's one of my games. I'm also taking Sunday afternoon. The Seattle Seahawks are giving 1 point to the LA Rams. They're playing that game in SoFi Stadium. However, the Seahawks are 6-3. They're above 500. Matt Stafford hates facing teams above 500. He struggles against them.
Yeah.
I am taking the Seahawks minus the 1 point. So I do like that one. Anytime you can bet, you have a 500 team going up against Matt Stafford, it never hurts to take that team against the Rams. So I learned that a long time ago with the Lions. Does not beat 500 teams.
Right.
Boy, I would love to see the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns are favored by 1.5. Now, I haven't checked that spread lately. That spread might have switched over to the Steelers because Deshaun Watson's out. So
that was going to be my homer question to you about the Browns-Steelers spread. The ESPN spreads that I bring up every once in a while, they're set at the beginning of the week and they don't change. The Browns are favored by 3.5 points. That was when Deshaun Watson was still a starting quarterback. Is it just me, or is that a slam dunk pick that the Steelers are not going to lose this game by more than a field goal against a rookie quarterback and against a backup left tackle? Don't have Nick Chubb.
Rechecking the odds. Apparently, the Browns are still a 1.5 favorite. I'm taking the Steelers in that game. I don't like that without. And is it PJ Walker who's?
No, it's Donovan.
Yeah, it's another rookie quarterback.
I'm sorry, Donovan Peoples-Jones is the wide receiver they traded. It's Dorian Thompson. What's the hyphenated?
Right.
Oh, the rookie quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Yes. The Steelers, they're winning because of, talk about a team.
Brian's always on the spot for us.
Brian's always there for us. But you talk about a team that wins because of turnovers and defensive play and putting opponents behind the sticks. That's what the Steelers do. They don't win because of great offense.
No.
They do enough on offense to outscore their opponents.
Yeah.
But that defense and special teams, they do the job. They do the work to give the offense the ball in positions where they can do something with it. All right. That's how you win. That's how the Steelers are making this improbable playoff run. So as long as the Browns are going to be favored by 1.5, I'm taking the Steelers. There's no way I can take the Browns.
Yeah.
Not unless they have Watson back at quarterback. This Robinson's going to have enough trouble trying to figure out what the Steelers are doing on defense against them to be able to run an effective offense.
Well, I'm really surprised they're starting the rookie. I guess it's a chance for them to see what he can do, but you're in the middle of a playoff run, playoff race anyway, and you're playing a team that had maybe not the scary vaunted Steelers defense of 10 or so years ago, but they take away the ball, they pressure the quarterback, they're going to confuse the young rookie without a starting tackle. You don't have Nick Chubb to rely on.
Right.
And PJ Walker beat the 49ers earlier in the season. So
yes, he did.
I don't know why you wouldn't just count on PJ Walker to outduel Kenny Pickett. But I don't see the rookie being able to do much against well, I think he'll be able to move the ball some, but I think he's going to make costly mistakes, is what I would say.
So do I.
I think he's going to turn the ball over.
Because that's what the Steelers do.
Yeah.
They create costly mistakes.
Yeah.
Steelers, by the way, are first in takeaways with their plus 10.
Yeah, plus 10 in turnover margin, 18 takeaways. They're first in both.
So that's why the Steelers, even with the limited offense, that's why they are playing as well as they are.
They've been outgained in all 9 games. All 9 games. I got some stats for you. They're the first team since 1933 to be outgained in on their first 9 games and have a winning record. Only one team, Tom, has been outgained in their first, I think it was 8 games, and finished with a winning record. Do you know which team that was?
No, I don't. I'm sorry. My brain is not working today.
The 2022 Steelers.
Oh, okay.
Last year.
You were baiting me somewhere there.
Mike Tomlin's team last year.
Oh, man. And as I say, you don't necessarily, this isn't a powerhouse. This might not be a team you're going to worry about in the playoffs. However, you only have to get there. And then you never know what could happen. You just got to get there. All right. And that's the one thing Tomlin understands is it doesn't have to be pretty. And every player on the Steelers knows it. It doesn't have to be pretty.
Yeah. Well, it definitely is not pretty. And the schedule is setting up for them very nicely. They got Thompson Robinson this week. Now they're not going to face Joe Burrow next week. And then after that, they have New England and Indianapolis, 2 other backup. Well, I don't know, Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, whatever. Poor quarterback play all around. And then you got Gardner Minshew.
Now, New England is the worst team record-wise in the AFC.
Yeah. The Steelers could, I'm not predicting this, but that Steelers team that's been outgained in their first 9 games, there's a path for them to be 10-3.
Yeah.
Which is incredible to think about. But and then of course the Steeler fans are not satisfied because they think they're going to be first round out just based on the way they play, first round out in the playoffs. But
they may be, but my thing is I admire Mike Tomlin because he gets that team to win. And he's got every man on that roster looking for a way to win. And that's all they care about.
Yeah. Yeah. And Kenny Pickett's definitely bought in because, people are asking him about his production, his stat line, this and that. And he keeps saying, as long as we win, I can sleep at night.
Right.
I think that was one of his responses this week. So,
yeah.
You got any other?
Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the NFL. Doesn't have to be the smartest man in the room. Just has to win.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. Prize picks.
Yeah. Let's get to our prize picks. I have a pick from that game, Tom, that we're talking about. Steelers Browns. Okay.
By the way, if you make your first $100 deposit on Prize Picks, they will match up to $100 of your first deposit. So use the promo code ASU, Atlanta Sports Unlimited, and do it now because, hey, we're halfway through football season. It's time. Start taking advantage of some of these trends that we've been seeing.
Yeah.
Got some background on some of these players now.
Absolutely. Like, this is the time that you really can have success on Prize Picks because you have those trends from the first half of the season that you can fall back on and really find some good selections. There's a lot less volatility in November and December, I would say. I mean, there's always volatility.
Always volatility, but you got more established trends that you can use.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mentioned that the Steelers-Browns game that I had to pick from it. I went a little bit outside the box. I'm going with Alex Highsmith.
Okay.
0.75 sacks. I'm going over.
Nice.
He didn't have a sack last week, but he had I believe it was 2 sacks against the Titans the week prior. He had a sack against the Browns in week 2 and had an interception return for a touchdown in that game as well. And as we already discussed, rookie quarterback, inexperienced tackles, no Nick Chubb. I think Highsmith will get a sack.
Yeah, I love that one. That's a great pick. I am going with David Montgomery, anytime touchdown against the Bears.
Ooh, I like that one.
I think Dan Campbell will do everything in his power to get Montgomery into the end zone at least once against his former team, because these kind of things are important to Dan Campbell. So I am taking David Montgomery anytime touchdown against the Bears. You have another one, Dave?
You know, the Lions, I just got to bring up this stat, 8-1 in their last 9 NFC North games.
Yeah.
And they've got an NFC North game tomorrow, and then they're playing the Packers on Thanksgiving. So Lions all of a sudden are.
Yeah, it used to be you didn't have to watch the Lions on Thanksgiving because you knew what was going to happen. You knew they were going to get blown out. But man, all of a sudden the Lions are going to be a must-watch on Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
So
got to tune in at 12:30 and have a later dinner.
Yeah.
For Thanksgiving.
So, I mean, they're actually going to challenge the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade for audience. So it's going to be something to see.
I got 2 Lions players as well. You brought up David Montgomery. I did not go with him, but I got Jared Goff, 276.5 passing yards. I'm going over. I think I went over a couple weeks ago with with Derek Carr going up against the Bears, or maybe it wasn't Carr, but it was a quarterback that was going up against the Bears. Bears have a weak pass defense. Goff coming off that great performance against the Chargers. He's been over 276 passing yards 3 of the last 4 games. The game that he didn't go over, he was right there at like 272. Yeah. So I like Goff to have a big day tomorrow. And Amon-Ra St. Brown's his favorite target. I would go with him over 84.5 receiving yards. He's had 4 straight 100-yard games, season high in receiving yards against the Chargers. I think he'll get 85 tomorrow.
I like those. I do. Because I think the Lions are really going to – I think there's a few players on this Lions team that want to do some payback against the Bears. And I have also Tony Pollard, 67.5 rushing yards against the Carolina Panthers. The Cowboys are getting 2 bye weeks in a row. They played the Giants last week, playing the Panthers this week. So, Pollard ran, just because, the Cowboys could, and they didn't, they wanted to wind clocks. They ran Pollard. And I think 67.5 yards is very reasonable. On my final pick, I like Sam Howell. 230, was it 285? That's 235.5 yards. Can't read my own writing. I got to get a better quill and inkwell.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just rough. But I think against the New York Giants, again, one of the most pathetic teams in the league, 235.5 passing yards, take the over.
I have Sam Howell as well as my last pick, but I'm going over 35 passing attempts.
Okay.
He's had way more than that in his last 4 games. He's had more than 40, at least 42
Yeah.
in his last 4. At least 44 in his last 3 games. Had a 50 attempt game against the Eagles. I am a little bit worried, going against the Giants, maybe he won't need to throw that much. But against the Patriots 2 weeks ago, he had 45 attempts.
The thing is, they have Brian Robinson Jr., who's a very capable running back on that team, but they don't use him.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I don't know why Eric Bieniemy doesn't use him. But it's
well, Tom, on my dynasty team, I got Brian Robinson and James Cook. It's like, why aren't these guys being used?
Yes, I can imagine.
And then they're on my bench, and then they finally are used for 1 game. It's like, okay, I'll put them in there.
Yeah, right.
And then nothing. But I want to get to some comments here. We're running way over time, but I want to make sure you guys feel a part of the show. Ghost Pepper said a little bit ago, the Falcons haven't won a game since Ritter got benched. Not saying they haven't won a game because of Ritter's benching, but I'm saying there's something rotten with the entire team right now. Yeah, and hopefully Arthur Smith gets that figured out, because that falls on him ultimately. Can't blame Ritter when Ritter's not playing. Pantera talking about Brett Favre when we were discussing Josh Allen and the quarterbacks that have too many giveaways. Favre was generous with the ball, 55 to 45% touchdown interception ratio, blessing and a curse like Vic 007. Ghost Peppers also says, win total, Smith isn't changing his philosophy he's stuck with for 4 years in a single bye week. We are who we are under this direction. Yeah, you'd like to think that maybe some tweaks, though, can make the difference, because you're losing these games just barely. A lot of close games you're playing, so you hope that make some tweaks over the bye week, and that can result in a different outcome. Brian says, can't miss Macy's Day Parade. So what are your Thanksgiving plans, Tom?
My sister's having Thanksgiving, so I'm going to go over to her house. And, I'll watch a little football, as I always do. But it should be fun. Where are the games on Thanksgiving this year?
Where are they on?
I said, okay, we got Green Bay at Detroit early, Washington at Dallas. We always have Dallas. San Francisco at Seattle. That should be a good late Thanksgiving day. That should be nice to be able to digest Thanksgiving dinner and sit back and watch a pretty good football game.
I'm much more interested in the Lions because I cover them for Heavy.com than I am the Cowboys game. And I'm disappointed that the Lions are on Fox, because it's a little bit harder to stream a game for somebody that doesn't have cable. Fox doesn't have a streaming service, which I think makes you happy, Tom. You're not a big fan of the streaming services, but
well, my problem is I can't figure out which streaming services I should have.
All of them and drop cable. That's the answer.
To get everything that I want to watch, they're on different streaming services.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Got to get all of them and then just cut cable. Get rid of it.
One of these days when I can afford it, when I'm making real money, when I'm back to making the money that I should be making for my position instead of being underpaid, then I can start looking at that stuff.
You do have cable, right?
No.
Oh, you don't have cable. Okay.
I don't even have a TV.
Wow. Okay.
I watch off the computer. I watch a couple of streaming networks off the computer. And I watch NFL Plus on the cell phone. So.
Well, all the games are on NFL Plus.
Yeah.
Watching on your phone.
So. And I got NFL Plus on the computer, so I can watch the replays. So that's always nice, especially with Falcons, because I don't get to see the Falcons when they're playing, but I can watch the replay and see what went on in the game. So that's always nice to be able to do.
We'll be hosting Thanksgiving here, but not a big gathering. My sister's coming. It'll be the 4 of us. I made the mistake like a week ago saying to somebody it's the 3 of us. I forgot my son. It's the 4 of us now.
Oh, Dave. Yeah, but the kid's not having turkey.
No, he's not eating with us, but he's here. So there will be 4 of us and 3 people eating and drinking.
Yeah.
After I cover the Lions game.
Right. Exactly.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for your patience while I, dealt with no power and transitioning back to my computer. And have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yep. Everybody, we always appreciate you spending time with us on Saturdays, and enjoy being with you for this hour of time. And everybody have a great Thanksgiving and a great week.